Sister Wives David says no one will believe Kody Brown's claims. Sister Wives star Kody Brown is making claims, but his ex-wife, Cristin Brown Woolley's husband, David Woolley, says he won't be believed. So, what claims is he making, and why won't followers trust what he has to say? Keep reading for more details. David Woolley says no one will believe Kody Brown's claims. Kody Brown has a history of blaming everyone else for his shortcomings. When he met with Janelle Brown on the Sunday, November 3rd episode, she tried to lay the truth out for him. More so, she tried to explain how no one could ever say anything bad about his last remaining wife, Robin Brown. Janelle went so far as to refer to her as his sacred cow. He then claimed his former second wife often played the victim card. Viewers felt that was the pot calling the kettle black, as he always plays the victim. Even his son, Gade Brown, noted Kody never takes accountability. Currently, Kody and his former third wife, Cristin Brown Woolley, are embroiled in a lawsuit. They are set to face off in court in December 2024. It will be based in Utah and occur virtually with many layers. Cristin wants back child support for their youngest child, Truly, as well as a paternity test. This is vital as he was not listed on her birth certificate due to polygamy. She has since moved on and married David Woolley. She leans on him heavily while watching season 19 of Sister Wives. Kody Brown often blames Cristin for many of the kids not speaking to him, his anger, and the demise of the family. However, according to Us Weekly, David has reassured her that no one will believe any of the things her ex says. Admittedly, divorce is not easy. Furthermore, Cristin noted, having to hear what's being said about you behind your back is really difficult. However, she is very lucky that she has a loving man by her side to give her 100% love and support. In the latest episode of Sister Wives, Kody Brown claimed he had no idea if his ex was dating. He did not know what was going on with Cristin Brown Woolley while she was in Utah. Yet, he assumed she was dating given that was her goal. Viewers did not think that was necessarily true and felt he likely knew what she was up to. As to how Kody and David Woolley got along when they met, they were respectful. Now Cristin is happier than ever since she left Kody, and it shows. She still has to deal with him in court, but will cross that bridge when it comes. Cristin was laughing, the kind of laughter that makes others laugh, too, even if they don't know why. It had been one of those cozy, late-night conversations with David Woolley that turned her new life into something that felt like a dream. Sitting across the table, David looked at her with a bemused expression, watching her as she laughed. "You really believe he's going to go there?" Cristin asked, wiping a tear from her eye. "Oh, he's going there," David replied. "He thinks people will buy into it because they always have." The he in question was, of course, Kody Brown. Cristin had been keeping her distance from the swirl of drama, enjoying the quiet, steady love David offered, a balm after years of uncertainty and competition. But the latest claim Kody was making was almost too much for her to ignore. He was determined, apparently, to blame Cristin for the fractures in the Brown family, a story that conveniently left out years of decisions made by Kody himself. David leaned back, crossing his arms. "No one's going to believe him," he said with a hint of a smile. His tone was calm but resolute, carrying a confidence Cristin found so different from the gaslighting she'd experienced in the past. Cristin nodded, but she couldn't shake the slight pang of hurt. She had tried for so long to make things work, and even now, after she had moved on, it stung to think of Kody painting her as the villain in his story. "I don't know," she said, her voice softer. "People have believed a lot over the years." "Not this time," David replied firmly. "The family knows who you are. And I think the fans do too." The way David spoke, with unwavering support, reminded Cristin of the emotional labyrinth she'd walked through with Kody. There had been good years, of course, times she and Kody had connected, but those moments felt overshadowed now by the years she spent vying for attention in a marriage that seemed less and less real. She remembered the arguments, the way Kody's temper would rise when he didn't get his way, and the endless cycle of trying to prove her worth. "Kody never wanted to hear my side," Cristin said, voicing a thought she hadn't realized she'd been holding on to. "Even now, he's saying whatever fits his story. It's like he never really saw me." David reached across the table, his hand enveloping hers. "That's because he never wanted to see you. He wanted someone to fit the role he imagined. But that's his problem, Cristin, not yours." She felt a warmth spread through her, something she hadn't felt in a long time. A sense of being genuinely understood. With David, there was no role to play, no script to follow. She was simply herself, and that was enough. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of her past lingering in the air like a shadow. Cristin knew that Kody would continue his narrative, casting her as the one who disrupted the family, who walked away from her responsibilities. But what he didn't seem to realize was that leaving hadn't been a spur-of-the-moment decision. It had taken years of feeling unheard and unseen, of watching Kody prioritize other relationships and other dreams, before she finally decided to leave. David seemed to sense the thoughts swirling in her mind. "You know, I've dealt with people like Kody before," he said, breaking the silence. "People who need to be the hero, even if it means making someone else the villain." Cristin nodded. "It's exhausting." "Which is why you're here with me now," David said, his voice low and comforting. "You chose peace over chaos, and that's nothing to feel guilty about." They shared a quiet smile, and Cristin felt a sense of release. For so many years, her life had been defined by the stories Kody wanted to tell. But now, sitting here with David, she could feel a new narrative forming, one that was hers alone. Across town, Kody was facing his own reality. The plural marriage he had once championed as a calling had come under fire, and now he was scrambling to control the fallout. As he sat in his den, sorting through notes and trying to remember exactly which version of the story he had told of him, he was keenly aware that things were slipping out of his grasp. No one was answering his calls. Janelle had grown weary of his attempts to explain why Cristin's departure was a betrayal. Even Robin, his last remaining wife, seemed distant, wrapped up in her own reflections. She wore jewelry that shimmered like armor, each piece a symbol of her alliance with Kody, but the tension between them was palpable. The more Kody insisted on his innocence, the more she seemed to retreat into her own silence. Kody grabbed his phone, debating whether to call Cristin and try, one more time, to get her to see things from his perspective. But he hesitated, realizing how unlikely it was that she would listen. After all, Cristin had a life now, one where she didn't have to defend herself, one where she could be happy without his approval. He tossed the phone aside with a frustrated sigh, sinking back into his chair. There was a time when Kody had felt like a king with his wives by his side, each fulfilling a role he had so carefully crafted. But that kingdom had crumbled, and he was left with the aftermath, clinging to the fragments of a family that no longer existed. Meanwhile, Cristin and David had moved on. They were planning a road trip through Utah's Red Rock country, a trip with no itinerary, no obligations. Cristin felt a thrill at the idea of exploring life in a way she hadn't been able to for so long. As they drove, with David at the wheel, Cristin felt herself releasing memories of Kody with each passing mile. It was as though she were finally shedding a heavy coat she'd worn for too many years. David glanced over at her, sensing the shift in her mood. "You're quiet," he said with a smile, lost in thought. "Just thinking about how good it feels to leave the past behind," she replied. David nodded, keeping his eyes on the road. "The past can't hurt you unless you let it." She smiled, feeling lighter than she had in years. The open road stretched ahead of them, full of possibilities, and for the first time, Cristin felt truly free. Back in town, Kody was left with his own thoughts, still crafting the story he wanted people to believe. But as he looked around his empty home, he couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, no one was listening anymore.